Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Welcome to the Texas Children in Nature Network webinar, Natural Resource Programs from Soil to Sky with Amber Brown. My name is Sarah Coles, and I am the Executive Director of the Texas Children in Nature Network, and we're excited to have you with us today. We are recording our session, and thank you for joining us. To save with bandwidth for all of our attendees and for a clean recording, we ask everyone to turn off their cameras and mute themselves during the presentation. I will be monitoring the chat so you can share your questions there, and I will share them with our presenter. Please remember to keep your comments kind. We are recording the session and Alice will be sharing it in a follow-up email. If you're uncomfortable with your name showing, you can change your name to anonymous and then private message me with your name for our attendance. Also, if your Zoom name doesn't match the name you registered with, please change your name or let me know. If you are in need of a certificate, just a reminder, those aren't automatically sent, but you will need to email and follow the directions that were in your Zoom email that you got this morning. And as a reminder, if you are needing that certificate, we do need your Zoom name to match that name for attendance. I'm going to go ahead and do our land acknowledgement. Texas Children in Nature Network is headquartered in Austin, and as such is on the ancestral and unceded land of the Tonkawa, Comanche, and Sauna people. Our ongoing colonial presence on Indigenous lands compels us to take action now to counteract the effects of colonization. The work we do through the Texas Children in Nature Network is one small step towards that effort. And in just a moment, I'm going to put a few links in the chat about land acknowledgements and about those people groups. I would like to go ahead and welcome our speaker today, Amber Brown with the Texas Wildlife Association. Thank you so much for presenting today, Amber, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today, especially on a weekend. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much to Sarah and the rest of the Texas Children in Nature group for allowing me the opportunity to be here today. Give me 1 second to share my screen here and we will get started. Okay, give me 1 second, check something. All right. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me here today. My name is Amber Brown. I'm a conservation education specialist with the Texas Wildlife Association. And today we're going to learn about natural resource programs from soil to sky. So a brief overview of the workshop that I have, our workshop PowerPoint I've put together for us today, just so we can get a better idea of the time that we're going to spend together here. I'm going to do an introduction to the Texas Wildlife Association, who we are, what we do, that sort of thing. And then we're going to jump right into free youth education programs that are available for you to utilize in your classroom. As you can see, those include Critter Connections, Youth Mini Magazine, Discovery Trunks, Distance Learning, Land, Water, and Wildlife Expeditions, Wildlife by Design, teacher workshops, and coming soon, a curriculum website. From there, we're going to take it from the soil to the sky as I give you examples of how you can implement these programs into your classroom. And finally, we'll wrap this up with questions, comments before we do a final farewell. So thank you once again for allowing me to be here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So what is Texas Wildlife Association? We are a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1985 that focuses its mission on private landowners and their ethical relationship to the land. We concentrate on issues relating to private property, hunting, hunter rights, conservation of our natural resources. As you can see our mission on the screen, we strive to uphold it in everything that we do. It is to serve Texas wildlife and its habitat while protecting property rights, hunting heritage, and the conservation efforts of those who value and steward wildlife resources. Our organization is organized into 3 different pillars, and you can see them here on the screen. We have issues in advocacy, hunting heritage, and conservation legacy. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about each of these so it makes a little bit more sense what we do, and then we'll jump into the youth education side of things. So for issues in advocacy, Texas Wildlife Association leads the voice for wildlife conservation policy in Texas through exactly what it sounds like, policy that relates to our natural resources. Within hunting heritage, they focus their efforts on dedicating and maintaining Texas' rich hunting heritage through ethical regulated hunting, as hunting is a great wildlife management tool and is a Texas tradition. They do that through 3 different programs: the Youth Learn to Hunt program, the Texas Youth Hunting Program, the Adult Learn to Hunt program, and the Texas Big Game Awards. Finally, we find ourselves at conservation legacy. That's what I work within. Conservation legacy focuses on leaving a legacy that benefits all of us through educating generations of Texas on how to be better stewards of the land to better sustain our natural resource for future generations to come. Conservation Legacy has two program areas, adult education and youth education. Doesn't matter if we're working with adult or youth, our overall goal is to continue educating generations of Texans about land stewardship through engagement in the natural world, from classrooms to the outdoors, using the land as the guide. So jumping into what we're here for today, right? Youth education. We currently have 6 free programs and are working on a 7th to make available to youth and educators here in the state of Texas. I'm going to jump into an overview of those so you have a better idea of what they are and how you can incorporate them into your classrooms. So those 6 youth education programs are Critter Connections Youth Mini Magazine, Discovery Trunks, Distance Learning, Land, Water, and Wildlife Expeditions, Wildlife by Design, and teacher workshops. So jumping right into it, Critter Connections, our first program we're going to discuss today. As you can see through the cover images I have here on the screen, over the past several years, we have covered a wide variety of species and topics within our publications. Everything from bugs to snakes to state symbols, endangered animals, birds, mammals, you name it, we've probably done it. So what is Critter Connections? Overall, it is a quarterly educational youth mini magazine that is targeted for youth ages 13 and younger. We publish these in February, April, September, and November of each year. Each issue does include a wildlife profile and a plant article, as well as various crafts and activities, fun facts, and stewardship actions geared toward youth. The great thing about this is all youth educators and youth in Texas are eligible for free annual subscriptions. When you sign up, either for an individual copy or for a class set of 25 copies, you'll receive these magazines in the mail. That being said, we do have a library of digital copies of our previous editions on our website, which can be found at the website at the bottom of the slide here. I just took a quick clip of the web page just to give you an idea of what it looks like. And as you can see, just from our most recent 6 issues, so the last year and a half, again, covered a wide range of topics, from decomposers to falcons, nocturnal animals, backyard birds, cave critters, and American badger. When you go to this digital library, you can either read online or you can download a PDF if you wish to have a hard copy or to use it in your classroom. Moving forward, starting in September of 2024, so our next issue later this year, we are starting an ecoregion series, which is super exciting. I'm very excited about it. So as you can see on the map here, the gold ecoregions of Texas, Texas has 10 distinct ecoregions whose all have unique characteristics that help make up our state and make it the great area for wildlife and natural resources that it is. So I gave a little glimpse here into the next 4 issues. So as there are 10 issues, this will take 2.5 years. We're going to start it in September 2024 with the Blackland Prairies. That's that gray swath running through the center and the north part of the state. Then in November 2024, we're going to have an issue over the Cross Timbers, which is that golden area or that bright yellow area next to it. Afterwards, in February 2025, we're going to cover the Edwards Plateau. That's that bright, vibrant blue in the middle. And in April 2025, we're going to cover the Gulf Prairies, which is along the coast, that darker blue color. We will continue on through the ecoregions in alphabetical order, and you can see them on the lower left-hand side of that map until we wrap things up with the Trans-Pecos in 2026. So it's going to be a long haul, but we're very excited about this. It's going to be a great resource. It's going to be fun and engaging as you receive them, and a great resource to have afterwards. So that's looking to the future with Critter Connections. And with the ecoregion series, we will dive, of course, into the unique land formations that make up those ecoregions, as well as the critters, the wildlife, and the plants that call them home, as well as the conservation challenges that each of them face, and ways that we can be better stewards of those natural resources to ensure that they're here for future generations to come. If you wish to subscribe to Critter Connections, you can go to that website at the bottom of the page of the slide here, and this is just to give you an idea of what you're going to run into. Again, if you want to subscribe for hard copies, you can do so for classroom subscriptions, which is 25 copies, or an individual subscription, which is a singular copy. These will be mailed to your house or your classroom, whichever you prefer. And a little note, when that first box, select a subscription type. Once you select that, it'll populate the cells for you to fill in for your address so we know where to mail it to. But if you do select classroom subscription, it will bring another box up for you to enter how many class sets you'd like to receive, 1 through 8. So again, each class set is 25 copies. You can receive multiple class sets for free if you wish. The next program that we're going to dive into is Discovery Trunks. So the Discovery Trunks, as you can see here on the photos, are exactly what they sound like. It's a trunk full of hands-on material, lessons, and activities for you to bring natural resources into the classroom. These are, once again, absolutely free. They're available across the state. All of the lessons in there are TEKS aligned, science TEKS aligned. And how it works are these trunks are reserved in 2-week reservation periods. Each school can receive 3 per semester per year. There is a 65 student minimum though, so we do recommend getting with your co-teachers, your teaching team, other folks in your school, so you can share the trunk once you receive it to meet that minimum, but to also be able to have these resources in front of as many kids as possible. We do have 7 different topics that we can, 7 different topics of trunks that we have to send out. And we'll see them rolling here on this slide. But they do include adaptation investigations, animal adaptations, bats a billion, bird adaptations, butterflies flutter by, life of a bird, and more than a drop. So as you can see through this rotating little mini slideshow going here, they do have different materials in them, whether it's eggs or feathers or feet or skulls or furs, tracks, scat molds, even different things for you to get hands-on with the students, but also a plethora of resources of books and handouts and posters, all of that stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about these discovery trunks, or if you want to know, what type of materials are in each trunk, we do have that available on our website. If you're ready to get hands-on, you can go ahead and go to that website below and reserve your trunk. We do currently have spring reservations open, and we'll soon have summer reservations open as well. Our next program we're going to talk about is distance learning. So as you can see on the screen with the little snippets I have provided, we do again cover a wide variety of different topics for this, but ultimately our distance learning is a digital library of free on-demand TEKS-aligned videos that cover things like animal adaptations, life cycle, water cycle, ecosystems, food chains, and even classification. We categorize our distance learning into 2 different categories: on-demand webinars and live animal recordings. So we'll get to the live animal recordings here in a minute. But for the on-demand webinars, we do have 14 programs currently available that cover water, wildlife, ecosystems, life cycles, classification, and soil. These are typically 15 to 30 minutes long, designed for grades 1 through 6, and they do come with interactive questions and follow-along worksheets. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, they do include topics like adaptable armadillos, which goes over adaptations of that critter, food chain fun, prairie dogs, which is grasslands ecosystem, stewarding soil. We also have aquifers and spring ecosystems, wetland ecosystem, frog life cycle, complete metamorphosis, incomplete metamorphosis, and so much more. So jumping into that next category of our distance learning, we have live animal recordings. So we have 6 of these videos. They're recordings of some of our favorite live animal video conferences. These have a presenter in the room as well as a live animal, and I have a clip I'll show you later on so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But these are, again, designed for grades 1 through 6. These run about 20 to 45 minutes long, and once you register, they're available anytime. These also come with interactive questions and follow-along worksheets, as you can see on the screen. At the bottom of this slide, you can see some topics we have all about alligators, bats a billion, creepy critters, peregrine falcons. 4 of the 6, the other 2 are awesome possums and owl adaptations. If you're interested in learning more about distance learning, you can go to that website at the bottom of our page. If you want to register, you'll be go to this page, be prompted with this little orange box. You click there, and how the registration process works. Once you register, I'll get a notification that a form has been filled out, and I'll email you a video link as well as the associated worksheets. Once you get that video link, you can use it as many times as you want, anytime you want. There's no limit. So we do recommend pre-registering if you're interested in doing so. So you already have the resources on hand and can use them whenever you need to in the classroom. But if you go to this webpage, you'll scroll below this header, and then you'll see the library below, our digital library of distance learning. And on there, you will see descriptions of each video, the associated worksheets, as well as the run times. Okay, the next program we're going to talk about is the Land, Water, and Wildlife Expeditions. Land, Water, and Wildlife Expeditions are middle and high school natural resource curriculum that ends with a day of outdoor studies focused on land, water, and wildlife. This program works as a partnership between Texas Wildlife Association and the district and school that supports the teachers by providing TEKS-aligned lessons and an expedition day to really tie in what they've learned through those lessons through that hands-on experience to hopefully enhance their comprehension of the natural resources and get them outside in a way that they might not have been able to before. We do this by following a program roadmap. Interested campus and districts are identified, and then Texas education staff host a land, water, and wildlife program orientation for the staff, the teachers, and the campus and district staff. Afterwards, the campus or district will accept a conservation partner promise, and then we're on to a one-day Texas Wildlife Association lesson workshop where you do earn CPEs. Afterwards, we jump into classroom studies. So 4 or more Texas Wildlife Association lessons are implemented and assessed. We do currently have over 100 lessons, so a whole host to choose from. And then you implement those classrooms into your lesson. And then we come to the Land, Water, and Wildlife Expedition, the big field day that takes place on private land. And all eligible students do attend this expedition day and have a blast. So as this program is called the Land, Water, and Wildlife Expeditions, we do follow those categories when setting up our stations. In the past, I have some field day stations that have done in the past here. In the past, some land stations have been soil, succession, drones, and I'll talk a little bit on soil because I have helped with that one in the past. So with soil, just to get some insight to the station, the students will go and grab a sample using a soil probe, come back to the table, and we'll do a ball ribbon test and talk about the different components that make up soil, identify the soil type, as well as talk about the different particles, the sand, silt, and clay that make it up. We really do like to drive home the message about what happens below the ground directly affects what grows above the ground, which affects wildlife and humans as well, and why soil is so important to us. The next station category is water, and some examples from the past are stream trailer, rainfall simulator, macroinvertebrates, and the rainfall simulator is a really neat one just to give insight to the water station. So you have simulators set up to show what rainfall runoff would look like on bare ground versus concrete versus non-native grass versus native grass to discuss the importance of having ground cover as well as native ground cover. And then, of course, the wildlife station. No field day would be complete without the wildlife station. In the past, we've done things like CSI, habitat walks, scent stations, and predator-prey games, all of which really drive home the TEKS and the lessons that they learned that related to wildlife in the classroom. The next program we're going to touch on is Wildlife by Design. So Wildlife by Design brings wildlife and natural resource conservation presentations into the classroom with interactive wildlife-based lessons that are all TEKS aligned, as well as activities and demonstrations by our conservation educators. So we currently have 8 conservation educators on the ground in Texas that come to classrooms and do these presentations. Again, they are all science TEKS aligned, and they are for grades K through 8. How this works is typically, each school will get 3 Wildlife by Design presentations per school per year. Each visit does include 3 to 6 repeat presentations that day. And each presentation can be, I believe it's up to 45 or 2 classes together. So you can get a whole lot of kids to get into this program to get hands-on with our natural resources in the school. We do have 6 program options available, and all presentations are designed to be grade specific and are customized to meet the necessary science TEKS, as well as the unit specific thematic unit that you're on. These run about 60 minutes long. And so those different program options include birds of a feather, investigating life cycles, skins and skulls, stewarding soil, where is our water, wildlife by design outdoors. And as you can see in the photos here, we have students with magnifying glass looking at the different stages, life cycle of stages of a bug. We have an educator sitting on the ground engaging with students talking about life cycles of a sea turtle. We have students using those critter guides to learn more about skins and skulls and using those to figure out what school that they have been given. So a great way to get hands-on resources into the classroom. And as I said, we currently have 8 conservation educators on the ground here in Texas. They do cover these highlighted counties. So if you're in one of these counties and you would like to book a wildlife by design presentation, you can go to our website and reach out to these conservation educators, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. We do currently have 2 openings. So one in the San Angelo area, one in the Houston area. So our team's growing and our footprint for this incredible program is growing as well. So we are very, very excited for that. Alrighty, moving into our next program, we have teacher workshops, and they are exactly what they sound like. They are workshops for teachers. They are absolutely free. They are 6 hours long and offer CP credit. They're open statewide to all formal and informal educators. They're designed for K through 8 educators and provide hands-on training for educators to incorporate these natural resource and private land lessons into their teachings. The lessons used in these workshops, again, are all science TEKS aligned, and it also includes hands-on classroom and field guide activities. For these teacher workshops, we do have in-person and virtual options. So I have here a very, very small snipping of the schedule. I wasn't able to fit the entire thing on here. And so if you're interested in seeing the full schedule, please go to that website below. If you're interested in seeing the agenda, again, please go to that website. Our workshops do run this year from June 6th to July 27th in a mix of virtual and in-person formats. And by attending, you'll get early access to Discovery Trunk and Wildlife by Design program registration, as well as access to all the lessons used within the workshop and other goodies. And finally, coming soon, we do have a curriculum website in the works. And as you can see here, I have a screen clipping of the header of that website. It's going to be a lesson portal, and you'll be able to browse using filters to find what lesson fits your needs. So again, as I said, we do have over 100 lessons for grades K through 12. They are all science TEKS aligned, and will be also aligned to the new science TEKS. I know that's a big concern for a lot of teachers right now, and rightfully so. So we have over 100 lessons available, and additionally, there are associated worksheets and materials. Whenever this website launches, all these lessons will be available online for digital download. All you have to do is go in and create an account. It will be absolutely free. After creating an account, you can download as many lessons as you would like. Again, all science TEKS aligned. We will have that search engine feature to help you look for the perfect lesson for whatever unit you're on. And we have different topics that we cover within these lessons, everything from basic needs to adaptations to ecosystems, water, soil, natural resources, and so much more. I do have a little glimpse at our cover page for our lessons. This is the front page, just to give a brief overview of what the lesson includes. So it covers objectives, materials, what's provided, what's not provided, as well as vocabulary. And then that tan rectangle to the left there has the information over what grades this lesson's for, what TEKS it covers, topics, methodologies, what setting it's in, how long it will take, and additional subjects. So all necessary information to have up front. You'll be able to view that cover page, and then if you decide that the lesson is something you want to look into, you'll be able to easily download it and immediately implement it. So that was a really, really quick overview of our programs. I got a little nervous and I talked a little too fast, so I'm sorry for that. Do we have any questions over the programs so far?
Amber, we don't have any in the chat, but I think we probably have a small enough group that if anyone wants to take themselves off mute and ask a question, we can do that as well.
Yes, absolutely. If y'all have any questions over anything that's been covered, please let me know.
I think we're good.
Alrighty, so now that I've given y'all a very quick overview of what our youth education programs are, I would just like to reiterate that all these are absolutely free to youth and Texas in Texas, youth and educators in Texas, whether it's our Critter Connections, our Wildlife by Design, our Land, Water, Wildlife Expeditions. These are all free resources that we provide for youth and educators here in the state of Texas. So now that I've given you all the real quick overview of that, we're going to take this thing from the soil to the sky. I know that hearing about these programs can be very, very overwhelming, especially, just with the amount that they have. As you've seen, all of our programs cover a wide variety of different topics. And so it's important to me that we break this down and I give some examples of how you can implement this into your classroom, whether that's, next week, next month, next year. And so we'll do that. But before we get started, I would like for us to take a quick 10-minute break. I do have an activity planned. It's called a ball ribbon test. And so I want to give us 10 minutes so we can run and grab a soil sample. You just need one the size of your hand if you'd like to follow along with this activity. You just go grab dirt from the yard, just the size of your hand. So it's okay if we take that break real quick, Sarah?
Yes, sorry, it took me a minute to unmute.
All right, awesome. So we'll meet back here at 10:26 right now. We'll meet back here at 10:36. Gives everybody plenty of time. We're gonna set our soil sample to the side. We're gonna use that here in a few minutes. But to get back to where we were, we're gonna take this from the soil to the sky. So I gave you a big overview of what different programs we have for youth education that are free resources for youth and educators in the state of Texas. Whether you're a formal educator, an informal educator, we've seen our programs be used in the classroom setting, of course, but as well as after school programs, different clubs and organizations. So really the sky's the limit with any of our programs. But in the interest of staying to theme here, we're going to work our way up from the soil to the sky, discussing different examples of our programs being used along the way, and hopes that it will help you generate some ideas of how you can get these programs into your classroom, whether, like I said, whether it be in a week, a month, or a year. Oh, let me switch slides here. Alrighty, so starting off with soil, I'm going to give two examples here of how you can get some programs covering soil into your classroom. First up, we have Wildlife by Design. If you remember, that's where the conservation educators come to your classroom and give a presentation over a specific topic. They are all TEKS aligned and they have hands-on materials that they bring with them, as well as you can see in this bottom left-hand picture of our conservation educator going over a soil lesson with some students. So the Stewarding Soil Wildlife by Design is a series of hands-on activities that allows the students to dig in and investigate. So throughout the program, students will gain a better understanding of why soil is so important to wildlife and people and how they can be stewards of this natural resource. They will learn how soil is formed, the characteristics of sand, silt, and clay, and how soil health affects living and non-living things, as well as what products come from soil. Throughout this program, again, they'll gain a better understanding of this natural resource, and the concept and importance of land stewardship, including soils, is introduced and reinforced throughout. Another great example of utilizing our programs to introduce your students to soil is our land, water, and wildlife expeditions. So as I said before, for the land station, we have done soil in the past, and one activity we like to do there is called the ball ribbon test, which is what we're going to do today. That's why I had to go run and grab a sample if you would like to participate. So this ball ribbon test is used to determine the soil texture by rolling soil into a ball. and squishing it into a ribbon. And that determines how much sand, silt, and clay is in it, which makes up the soil type and texture. This ball ribbon test is also seen in some of our lesson plans as well. So once that curriculum website is up and running, those will be available for free as well. So we're going to jump into the ball ribbon test. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody. So if you're going to participate in the ball ribbon test, if you went and got a sample, go ahead and turn your camera on if you don't mind, or if you'd rather do it with the camera off, no big deal. Or if you just want to watch and not get your hands dirty, I totally understand. Hello, everybody. So the ball ribbon test, again, is used to determine the different textures that are the different soil texture. And give me one moment here to get my screen situated. Okay. So, as I said, we went and got samples, and I have mine here in a cup. I found in a tote, a soil tote, as well as a shovel to kind of scoop it around. So for this, all you need is a sample that is big enough to fit into the palm of your hand, and it doesn't have to be too wet, or it doesn't need to be too wet or too dry, just a little bit of moisture in it. So what you're gonna do, and again, this is very hands-on, very dirty, you're gonna take a sample of it, or take some of your sample at least, put it in your hand, and then you're going to squish it and roll into a ball. And we really enjoy doing this with kids. It gets them hands-on with the natural resources. They enjoy getting dirty. They enjoy having a reason to play in mud. And so it's all around a really great experience. So you're going to take it and you're going to roll the sample around in your hand to see if it forms a ball. All the while we're talking to students about the different textures, the sand, silt, and clay. Again, sand, silt, and clay are what make up the soil texture. And those are the different particle sizes. And we like to use visuals, or I personally like to use visuals. If we were to blow the particle sizes up to something that we can see, the size of sand, because it's the biggest particle, would be a basketball. The size of clay, the smallest particle, would be a golf ball, and so it would be in between and be the size of a baseball. So we have students roll their soil into a ball-like shape, and we assess if it has held together well. I like to have the students picture beach sand. So if you are at the beach and you have some sand, you're rolling it into a ball in your hand, is it going to hold together very well? Not so much, right? So it's typically going to fall apart, whether you poke it or the breeze hits it or when water hits it, it's going to just fall apart. Sand doesn't hold together very well. It's the largest particle size. So if your ball is holding together well, then you typically have some clay and silt in there, right? So that's the ball portion of the test, just to get a general idea of, is it going to hold? I have the students, throw it from hand to hand. Is it staying together? Is it starting to fall apart? What's it looking like? And then the second part of this test is called the ribbon test. And that's where you take your sample and you squish it between let me come backwards here. You squish it between your thumb and your forefinger to form a ribbon, pushing up the whole time. And depending on how far along you get, that determines which soil type you have. So you see mine's already starting to break. I don't have it very far. I'd say probably about 1.5 inches. And depending on how much of a ribbon you make before it starts to snap off like mine did, that will tell you what type of soil you have, what type of texture you have within your soil. And you can be very specific with it. If it's less than 1 inch and gritty, then you have a certain soil type. Or if it's more than 2 inches and it's smooth, then you have a different soil type. But when we're out in the field, I like to tell the students, this is something that farmers, ranchers, biologists, gardeners use to get a general idea of what type of soil they have, and ask, why is that important, right? So, and have them give answers back. And emphasize that's important, that they know what type of soil they have, so they know how it's going to behave. How much water is it going to retain? How much nutrients does it have within it? Do we have to add stuff to it? Do we have to be mindful of watering when it rains? Why is it important that we grow these plants and know what type of soil we have? Well, because without plants, we can't feed our livestock. Without plants, farmers can't grow food, farmers can't grow crops for food or for our fibers for our clothing. Without plants, we don't have habitat for wildlife. So it affects everything on Earth, including the big one. Plants help with oxygen, right? So it's always fun to hear what answers they yell back. And in the spirit of keeping it simple while in the field, I don't really whip out a measuring tape and say, okay, well, it broke off at 1 2/4 inches. That means this. We talk about how if it breaks off immediately, then you have more sand in your soil. Well, what does that mean when you're trying to grow plants? That means we need to be more mindful about how often we're watering it, because it's not going to retain that water as much. If your ribbon got super, super long, over, in general 3 inches, then that means that you have more clay in your soil. So that means that the soil is going to hold on to that water a lot quicker. We talked about why it's important why we don't have dry soil. Why is it important that we have don't have soil that's too wet? Well, then the plant's roots will rot and then they still can't grow. So then we need to be mindful that we're not watering it too much, right? And then if you have something in the middle, that means you have a good mixture of silt in your soil, which is the ideal. Having a silty mixture is ideal for growing plants. So really great hands-on activity. The kids love it. It's something that is super cheap, really easy to do in the classroom. Very much hands-on, right? If you can see this. And a great way to get kids, interactive with our natural resources, and hopefully something that it will help them remember later on. Another great thing, before I let us go wash our hands while I have y'all here, another great tool to use is called a soil shake. Mine tumped over on the way to the office this morning, so it is not settled as much as they typically are. However, if you're familiar with soil shakes, it's a more detailed way to get a better idea of how much sand, silt, and clay you have in your soil. So while I like to use the ball ribbon as more of a general idea, it's in the field, you can do it. You don't need anything but your hand and maybe a little bit of water if your dirt's too dry. The soil shake still just uses simple household items that you can make up real quickly. It only takes a few minutes. But the information it gives you is great. So with these soil shakes, what you do is you take a water bottle, and I know we all know the importance of not using glass, especially in an educational setting. So I just got to say it, a plastic water bottle, because I almost made the mistake and bought a glass one the other day. So plastic water bottle, preferably one that's smooth and round so you can see your results pretty well. You fill it about 2/3 of the way full with soil, a sample that you've gotten just from your yard will work. And then you fill it with about 1 inch of headspace with water. And you shake it up really, really well. You let it set overnight, and it will start to settle. Because those sand particles are larger, they'll settle to the bottom first. That only takes typically about an hour. And then you'll see that silt start to settle next, right over that sand. They're that mid particle size, they're gonna fall in the middle. And then at the top, you'll have the clay lay on top of that soil shake. I like to leave a little bit. It's important they take out most of the organic matter, but I do like to leave a little bit of the decomposing leaves. So the leaf litter, the sticks in there, because it sparks great conversation with the kids about what it is and why it's important. And then you can talk about nutrient cycling and decomposition. So normally these you'll be able to see distinct lines of sand, silt, and clay with a gap of clearish water and then the decomposing plant materials up top. However, this one tumped over, so it's not a great example, but you get the idea of it. And when using these, you can use a simple formula and a soil texture triangle to get a better idea of what kind of soil type you have. So it's another great way, super simple, for students to get hands-on, to have fun, and to learn about our natural resources. So I'm going to give us 5 minutes to go wash our hands really, really quickly, and then we'll join back and we'll continue from soil to sky. Sound good?
Sounds great. We'll be back at 10:52.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Alrighty, we'll give it a little bit longer for everybody to make their way back, and then we'll get started.
Amber, I saw you answered the question in the chat, but I don't know if maybe you wanted to say out loud. There was a question from Nancy, which was it sand on the bottom and then silt and then clay?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so when doing a soil shake, sand will fall to the bottom, then it's silt, and then it's clay. So working from the bottom up there. It typically takes a soil shake about 24 hours to settle, or at least overnight to fully settle and for the layers to begin to become distinct. And then you can you just measure the side and use a simple formula in a soil texture triangle to, if you want to figure out the detailed soil texture you have, but they're also just really great to use in the classroom or with kiddos to shake it up so that they can see the different layers that make up a sample of soil. And depending on where you're pulling your sample from, you may not have a lot of certain layers because each bit of soil is different, right? We have so many different soil types around us. Depending on where you pull the samples, you may have more sand in one and not much clay in the other, and vice versa. Recently, I created 4 different soil shakes with soil pulled from the same property. I don't have them here with me today, but they all were different, and it was all pulled, not very within the same pasture. 4 different samples brought out 4 different shakes, and just having them out there for the kids to look at during those land, water, wildlife expeditions, for them to really visualize, okay, so these particles are so different that they settle into different layers. It's really neat, and it's a really great way for them to be able to take that information and have it stick with them. So thank you for the question. So we're going to go ahead and get back started here. And like I said during the ball ribbon test, I like to do it in general, right? So if it breaks immediately, the ribbon part, you have more sand. If it breaks, if it goes super long, then you have more clay. If it's somewhere in between, you have more silt. Some of the students will have a hard time with pushing the ribbon between their finger and their thumb. So I have to tell them to treat it like Play-Doh and roll it in their hands to create a log. And that way it's easier for them to do, but it still has the same effect. But if you want to have a bit more information for that, if you wanted to actually bring out the measuring tape or the ruler, it typically, if the ribbon is less than 1 inch, and gritty, you have more of a sandy loam, and 1 inch and smooth, you have more of a silty loam. Or if it's just 1 inch and neither smooth nor gritty, somewhere in between, you just have loam. If it's 1 to 2 inches, that's when we start seeing our sandy clay loam, silty clay loam, and clay loam. And then if it's over 2 inches, that's when you have your sandy clay, your silty clay, and then just clay. So it's really fun to have different samples from different areas when you're doing this, and break students up into groups so that they can see, how different the soil can be just across a small field. So that's our soil programs I wanted to highlight. Again, we have so many different programs that fit in this, but the 2 I wanted to highlight today was Wildlife by Design and our Land, Water, Wildlife Expeditions. Again, once our curriculum website goes live, that's Stewarding Soil lesson will be available for free download, and you'll have access to all this information with the ball ribbon test and the soil shake. So we have made it through soil. We are now stopping at water on our way to the sky. So 2 great examples of how you can bring water into your classroom. If you want to get hands-on with it, we do have a discovery trunk called More Than a Drop. And students will be challenged to think about where the water comes from, how it got there, how it's used, where it ends up. But all in all, this trunk really opens students' eyes to the various facets of water, from raindrops to aquifers, and all through hands-on activities and TEKS-aligned lessons. So conservation is the main message with this one. As you can imagine, as we all know, aquifers are a big conversation within conservation right now, the future of our aquifers. So it's really great. As you can see in this photo here, we have a lot of hands-on materials, some visual aids, some maps and posters, as well as that binder full of lessons, all TEKS aligned, to help really bring this message home, also ensuring that you reach your objectives with the TEKS. Another great example for water is our most recent Critter Connections issue. So for April 2024, we went into the world of fantastic fish. As you can see on the screen, this is the cover image from that issue. We have a cute little smiling garfish on the cover this month. And this one should be hitting mailboxes soon. If you were not subscribed in time, but if you want a digital version, we'll have it up on our website next week. for you to be able to download a PDF version or read online. So I want to walk you through this critter connections and show you what a critter connections look like, what the components are, and talk about, how it's been used in the past. We have seen examples, of course, of it being used as supplemental reading, right? It's a youth mini magazine. It's 8 pages, has fun activities. So it's a great source of supplemental reading. But we have also seen it used as lesson plans. We have an example of a teacher who read the main article, that feature article, the wildlife profile, with as a class, and then broke the students into groups to work on each section of the magazine, and then came together to talk about what they learned. We've also seen an example of an art teacher using critter connections to have our students read and learn about these native Texas critters, and then recreate them in art class and discuss what they learned. So it's a really, really great resource. The sky's the limit with it. Really, the only limit is your imagination when it comes to this one. So when you open that front cover, you're greeted with our first 2-page layout, and that is what you see here. We start off in that top left section with a plant article. So the plants tie into that feature article that we talked about before. This one is fascinating fish, and with fascinating fish, we wanted to talk about seagrass. So throughout this little half-ish page of a plant article, we talk about the different types of seagrass we have in Texas, what animals use them, what they use them for, why it's so important, some of the conservation challenges that they're facing, and how conservationists and land stewards are helping these seagrass meadows to thrive in the current day and as we move into the future. So right below that, we have paint a puffer fish. This is our craft section, and each quarter we try to incorporate a craft that relates to our feature article. So in our feature article, we talk a little bit about puffer fish because Texas has 2 native species, which was something I learned. And so we did a puffer fish craft where all you need is paint, a toilet paper roll, and a piece of paper to create this cute little craft. And in doing so, it helps the students and the children get hands-on and really get excited and involved with this theme that we have going. Then we go to the top right-hand side of the page. We have the Did You Know section. This is our fun facts. This is where we try to pick out any information in the plant article or the feature article that is exciting, or that's something that will stick with students, and put it in this section so that they can carry it with them and they can share it with people. And that's personally one of my favorite things to do, is have fun facts to share with people. I think it's a great way to learn and a great way to share what we learn. And so we have this section here to really highlight those interesting things about our native Texas critters, as well as kind of reinforce some of those objectives that we have going on within the theme of this magazine. Right below that, we have a Color Me section. So this section is typically stays the same. It's a little coloring page, half coloring page that ties into that feature article. And they'll have, different species depending on what the article is. This one, of course, is the bluegill, because we covered fish. We talked a little bit about bluegill in the feature article, which you'll see on the next page. And so we have the image there for them to color with a reference photo, as well as the name of the species and the scientific name. So really great, really hands-on activity for kids to do. You turn the page and you're greeted by the feature article. We'll see how many times I can continue to say that. So this is where we have our main article of the Critter Connections issue. Again, this one was Fantastic Fish. And we felt like it was important when talking about fish to talk about the water systems in Texas. So we talk about the surface water, how it's all connected through watersheds and different rivers and streams and creeks, and how what we do in one area can ultimately impact what happens in another area. So really wanted to highlight that. It helped us tie in the freshwater, saltwater, brackish water conversation, and then we hopped right into native Texas fish. Our fish that we highlighted this month, our species that we highlighted this month, I should say, were sunfish, Rio Grande cichlids, alligator gar, tarpon, pufferfish, and southern flounders. So we try to incorporate stuff that the kids might see. It's spring and summer. If they get outdoors, if they go fishing, they might see sunfish, or brim, as they're commonly called. Some really neat critters like the Rio Grande cichlid that is unique to Texas, and then the alligator gar, which is just, it looks like a dinosaur. It's really awesome. We couldn't leave it out. And then other species that they might find interesting. So we like to do a mix of what are they familiar with and what is something that neat that's going to stick with them, right? And then at the bottom of that article, you'll see that we have a word bank. We do try to keep the reading level for this low, as we do know that younger kids use it. Again, it's geared for ages 13 and younger. And so we try to keep the reading level, I believe, around a 5th grade level. But since we are writing about science topics, as you know, that just kind of lends itself to being a little bit more difficult to read sometimes. So we break down those bigger words, those larger concepts in this word bank, so that the students and the youth that get this magazine have an easier time reading it. And then we move on to the fishy crossword. So this is our puzzle section, and it'll range from quarter to quarter, from things like a crossword puzzle to a word search to, just different. I think at one point we did a matching game. We did unscramble in the past as well. So it's really just what works best with the information that we have in that article. And for the puzzle, words, especially since a crossword, we try to use words that were in the vocabulary bank, that were this name of the species, as well as important concepts that we wanted to drive home. Below that, you'll see Nancy's Corner. So this is our stewardship section. If you remember when I talked about Critter Connections earlier this morning, we talked about how we have stewardship actions geared towards youth. That's where you'll find them. It's called Nancy's Corner because that cute little armadillo with the Texas flag bandana and the bright pink boots is Nancy Nine Bands. She's the Critter Connections mascot. She's been with Critter Connections since the beginning, and we are so happy to have her because she is the most adorable thing ever. So Nancy's Corner doubles as a stewardship section so that we can learn how we can be better stewards of our natural resources, ensuring that they're there for future generations to come, as well as a way to get outside, right? And to be able to enjoy those natural resources as well. So in the past, for the February issue, Discovering Decomposers, we prompted students to go outside on a little bit of a nature walk and write down what type of decomposers they saw. In the past, we've done different actions about getting outside, going birding. This one talks about river cleanups and how we can help our watershed, since all the water in Texas is connected. And then that final page on the right, that's a flyer for our formal education programs. Again, everything I covered here today in a lot shorter, lot clearer format. So that wraps up our water, and now we're moving on to plant. So 2 great examples of the plant ways that we can explore plants using these free youth education programs include the Land, Water, Wildlife Expedition Land Station. So in the past, we have done succession walks and habitat walks where students will go out and collect data or go out and ID plants and discuss what level of succession are we in, and really reiterate those lessons and those teaks that they learned in those lessons that were done in the classroom. And the habitat walk, again, talking about habitat for wildlife, the basic needs, the structure, food, water, shelter, all of that. So 2 great ways to really, again, reinforce those lessons that they learned in the classroom, get hands-on with it, and just have fun. Another great resource for plant, again, coming soon with our curriculum website, is the studying succession lesson plans. And so as you see here, I have included the cover sheet for study and succession lesson plan. And the objective is just students discovering how succession contributes to the sustainability of an ecosystem, including wildlife. So they can, after this lesson, will be able to identify and compare primary and secondary succession, as well as determining how succession affects plants and animal habitats. You'll see below that the materials that's needed for it, what we provide, what's not provided, as well as vocabulary. And again, on that left-hand side, the grades, the teaks, topics, methodologies, setting, time, and additional subjects. So again, these lessons do have set grades on them, but you can absolutely, they're built so that you can work them to fit whatever grade that you need them to fit by either simplifying or adding to them. As you'll see there, I have included also this the first page of the Succession 101 additional information sheet that we provide, and just kind of goes over primary secession, secondary secession, a resource for the students to have, for the teachers to have when it comes time to do the activity, which is filling out, or one of the activities, I should say, which is filling out this study and secession worksheet Venn diagram, where you talk about the traits of primary secession, secondary secession in both. So again, providing the information to students and finding ways to get them engaged in it, get them active with it to hopefully help that information retain and stick with them. These sessions are, sorry, this lesson, again, our lessons are not available on our website right now. We are still working on building that curriculum website. We hope to have it done soon. But if you're interested in being on the mailing list for whenever that curriculum website is available, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to add you to that. And I'll send out a big email celebrating the day that that website's ready to launch. Until then, our lessons are available through those teacher workshops, through the discovery trunks, as well as the land, water, and wildlife expeditions. So we have made it through the soil, the plants, the water, and we are now at mammals on our way up to the sky. So 2 great ideas of how you can learn about mammals in your classroom include Wildlife by Design and Discovery Trunk. And I really wanted to highlight these 2 side by side. So if you're in one of those highlighted counties that on the that can come out and do a Wildlife by Design presentation over skins and skulls, which is where the conservation educators lead the discussion and identification, discussion of the identification and specialized adaptations of Texas wildlife, native Texas. The importance of land stewardship, including its wildlife, is introduced and reinforced throughout the presentation, and students will learn how to use some investigative skills to identify what their mystery animal was, and they can use we also have these neat little critter guides that they use as well to identify those. So it's really fun, really exciting presentation. But if you're not in one of those areas that have a conservation educator, no fear, we have discovery trunks available. So again, these are available free statewide, and a great one if you're wanting to learn more about mammals is the animal adaptations. So with this one, again, great way to get hands-on materials in the classroom, as well as lessons that are teach-a-line if you don't live where we currently have any conservation educators. Through this animal adaptations trunk, students will explore the major vertebrate groups of select native Texas animals through the skulls, the pelts, the tracks, and so much more. They'll learn how to use field guides and books and different resources like bird calls to further explore adaptations. So you can see in that photo there below the discovery trunk, we have the skulls, of course, the pelts. Those little stuffed birds have bird calls in them, so easy to identify, of course, as well as the associated materials. That binder full of lessons and the additional handout materials. Over there on the left, you'll see the image of a Wildlife by Design presentation, a student really engaged with learning about the animals that they have there, a table full of pelts so that they can explore the different native Texas critters up close. Moving on to pollinators. So we have made our way past the ground and we're moving up to the air now on our way to the sky. We have a couple of different options that I would like to highlight today for pollinators. The first one is distance learning. So this is a program that can be used anytime, anywhere. All you have to do is register. Once I get a notification that we have a new registration, I will send over the video link and the associated worksheets that you can use as many times, anytime that you would like to. So the idea behind this Magic of Monarchs distance learning program, this is one of those on-demand webinars. It doesn't have a live animal in it, but that does not make it less interesting, right? So the idea behind this one was that during spring and fall, Texas sees millions of monarchs migrate through here. This video covers that, and it also talks about the basic needs, the life cycle, the adaptation and migration patterns of these critters, and how we can help them and help conserve the habitat and this critter altogether. This video does have follow-along worksheets, which I have included here. So the ones on the bottom left, those are the pre-worksheet, where you draw a monarch butterfly and talk about something that you want to learn today before the program starts. And then we have our follow along worksheet where students can fill in that information as a video plays to ensure that they're still engaged with it and still learning in throughout the process. Next to that, we have our post worksheets, the two towards the right. So we have a follow-up worksheet that talks about, how many monarchs lay eggs on, or sorry, why do monarchs lay their eggs on the milkweed leaves? Different questions that were talked about throughout that Magic of Monarchs programs to really reinforce those concepts, as well as a label and color to have fun with it, right? So you can color in the butterfly and label the different parts of it and talk about if they're living and non-living and talk about a basic need. So really great resources for students to do before, during, and after this presentation or the distance learning video, but also to prompt discussion within the classroom. If you're ready to get hands-on with pollinators, though, again, we do have discovery trunks as a resource. We have a trunk called Butterflies Flutter By. So this includes, again, materials, visual aids, teaks and line lessons, and educational games where students will learn about butterflies, their life cycle, migration, and their role in the natural world. As you see this slide, it says there are between 15,000 and 20,000 species of butterfly in the world, and Texas has hundreds of them. So this trunk investigates all aspects of a butterfly's life, and it lets you get hands-on with models, with little magnifying glasses, of course, handouts, posters, visual aids, again, teaks and line lessons and associated activities, and a game called Butterflight, which involves the students rolling dice to see if they will make it through, their butterfly will make it through the migration. It's a really great way for students to visualize migration and learn that while we do have millions of butterflies migrate through Texas each year, not all of them make it there and not all of them make it back, and learn the different ways that might happen, right? Whether it's through natural events or man-made occurrences. So a great way for students to learn about butterflies and the challenges they face, as well as, their life cycle and what we can do to help. And finally, we have made it to the sky, right? So we have dug our way up from the soil, we have swam through the water, we have grown with the plants, browsed with the mammals, fluttered with the butterflies, and now we are soaring in the sky with the birds. And I know that was a lot, but I was super excited to say that, so I had to add it. So talking about the sky and what of our programs fit in with this lesson was definitely a hard choice for me to make. We have so many different programs that go over birds. Because they're really neat critters, and they're one of those things that it doesn't matter where you are in the state, whether you're in a rural area or an urban area, you're likely to run into birds, right? It's something that people can connect with. So the two I wanted to highlight was the Discovery Trunk Life of a Bird, and then that clip of a live animal recording that I promised y'all earlier, Owl Adaptations. So the Discovery Trunk Life of a Bird goes over the life cycle of birds and how they all have, typically the same life cycle from egg to chick to adult, but there are so many differences along the way, whether they're a songbird or whether they're a grassland bird or a hawk or a raptor. So many different changes that happen. This trunk goes into the life cycle of a bird, including their behavior, migration, their songs, and what happens with human encounters. So again, you're getting those teaks aligned lessons in that binder with the associated worksheets and activities. You have a lot of hands-on materials, as you can see in the photo there, some turkey props, as well as turkey feet, some eggs, books, posters, and those weird shaped things just below the binder on the left of that image. Those are turkey calls. So really great way to get the kids engaged, get hands-on, have fun, bring these hands-on resources into your classroom at no cost to you. All you have to do is reserve a trunk, and we will mail it out to you, and it will come with a return label. So when the time comes, you just slap that on and send it back to us. We cover the cost on all of that. Moving on to the next sky themed program I wanted to show is the distance learning owl adaptation. So if you recall earlier, we talked about how our distance learning is broken apart into two different categories. We have on-demand webinars and we have live animal recordings. So we touched a little bit on an on-demand webinar with the Magic of Monarchs in that last slide. But now we're jumping into owl adaptations, which is a live animal recording. So this program features a live owl. And through it, you get to examine the adaptations and what allows them to fly, hunt, and survive in their environment. And they also play calls of some common Texas owls. So kids can hear those calls and say, hey, I heard that at home, right? So So I wanted to give you, before we jump into the fun part and get to see the little brief clip I have for y'all today, I wanted to show you our pre-worksheets. So again, connect the dots on the owl while you're waiting for the program to start, and what is something you want to learn today. That works great as a post-evaluation as well. You can look over those and see, okay, what did we learn that today? How can we incorporate that into lessons in the future? And then we have our follow along worksheet where that follows the format of the video. The students just fill that out as they are watching the video, and they are learning that information in the process. And then we have our post worksheets where you can label and color an owl, and then you can do owl vocabulary activity. Again, reiterating those terms and those lessons that were learned in the video so that students can hopefully carry those with them and remember them for longer. So now the moment we have all been waiting for eagerly, our live animal video, I'll give you all a brief clip of that.
I want to ask you to do something for me. I want you all to look straight ahead, and without moving your head, I want you to move your eyes up and down and side to side. That's right. Well, we have the ability to do that because we have special muscles and we have different eyes, but owls' eyes are so big. And so their eyes actually don't move. They're actually stuck in their head. They're just locked in there. So my next question is, what adaptation do owls have that allow them to see, to look around? So for an owl to look around, they have the ability to rotate their head 270 degrees. So that's what happens. So when an owl wants to look to the right or the left, they actually have to move their head like this because their eyes can't do it. You and I can look over here and look over there, but owls can't. Now I'm going to demonstrate this with Athena real quick. I'm going to see if she lets me do that. I'm going to turn her kind of as much as I can to face you guys. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to touch her shoulder a little bit on the left shoulder, and we'll see if she rotates her head a little bit. Here you can go. She's going back at me again. If I touch her again, look at that. She's almost looking all the way around. You see how she's rotating her head? There we go. Isn't that amazing? So she's able to do that because she can rotate her head 270 degrees.
So again, that is our owl adaptations distance learning video, just a brief clip of what those live animal videos look like. And that wraps it up. We went from the soil to the sky. Today you learned about what Texas Wildlife Association is, what we do. You learned about some free resources that you can use for your kiddos or for your students. And then we took it from the soil to the sky, learning of some examples how we can implement these programs within our classroom. Again, all of our programs that we offer are absolutely free. They're at no cost to the youth or the educators that use them. We both, our programs can be used for both formal and informal education purposes, whether it's in the classroom or after school programs and activities. And we focus on native Texas wildlife and plants so that we can learn more about what makes the state so unique and why we should work to conserve our resources and be stewards of them so we can have them in the future. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them right now.
We don't have any in the chat, but folks, feel free to take yourselves off mute and ask away. I will say while we're waiting for any questions to come in that I'm going to go ahead and put an evaluation in the chat. If y'all could take a moment to do that for us. That helps both TCI and N know how we're doing, and then also we give that feedback to Amber as well. And we're all educators here, so we all know how important evaluation is. And then also our next webinar is actually next week, and it's Healthy Trees, Healthy Lives, talking about how having a healthy environment is important for us to be healthy as well. Any questions? Well, thank you so much, Amber, for coming today and presenting.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. Again, thank you so much to Texas Children in Nature Network for allowing me to be here today to present over these programs for y'all. And thank you everybody so much once again for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend it with us today, especially on a Saturday morning. I know that is prime real estate for the weekends. Thank you so much for being here and letting me talk about the programs. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any one of my coworkers here at Texas Wildlife Association. We're always more than happy to help, and we are very eager to help get these resources, these free resources to educators in the classrooms. So Gene Cooper covers our teacher workshops, Wildlife by Design, and Land, Water, Wildlife Expedition program. And you can find his information on the website, or you can email him at gcooper@texas-wildlife.org. And once again, my name is Amber Brown. I'm a conservation education specialist for the Texas Wildlife Association. My program areas include Critter Connections, distance learning, discovery trunks, and the soon-to-be curriculum website. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I really look forward to hearing from y'all, and I hope that the information that we provided today can be used, like I said, either in a week, in a year, in a month. They can be a benefit to you and your students in the classroom.
Thank you so much. And we'll be sending out the recording next week. So thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everybody.